Thank you for scanning the code and coming to hear more about the Kinahan organised crime group, the cartel with a vast cocaine empire, otherwise known as the KOCG. The Europol-dubbed super cartel, the Kinahan organised crime group, is one of the most economically, politically and socially influential organised crime groups in the world. Whilst their roots trace back to Dublin, Ireland, in the late 1980s, the cartel has since gathered significant attention for its extensive operations spanning across multiple continents, including Europe, North and South America, as well as Asia. There have been significant law enforcement efforts against the Kinahan cartel, particularly in recent years, due to their suspected financial affiliations with terror cells. However, the cartel's prosperous evolution to now what is an international stronghold has created a complex challenge for law enforcement agencies to attempt to combat them. The Kinahan cartel is infamous for a wide range of criminal activities, including money laundering, extortion, arms trafficking, and violent enforcement of power. However, for this presentation, we'll be focusing specifically on one of their most lucrative and far-reaching enterprises, cocaine trafficking. This operation underpins much of their power and influence, with complex routes and partnerships that allow them to smuggle and distribute cocaine across Europe. To better understand this group, let's first delve into what this group actually does. The cartel sources cocaine from South America, primarily Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. These regions are the world's largest cocaine producers, making it a starting point for the cartel's drug trafficking operations. The cartel organizes shipments through South America, which are then transported to Europe through various methods, including shipping containers and private transport, such as private cargo ships as well as private airplanes, in order to evade detection from the authorities. Once the cocaine reaches Europe, multiple countries play specific roles in the cartel's network, with different countries used to operationalize different elements of the process. The Byrne family oversees operations in Ireland, focusing on local recruitment, police corruption, and bribery to maintain control. The cartel enforces its power through violence, as witnessed in the Hutch Gang War. Liam Byrne would use luxury car showrooms for cartel meetings and a front for their money laundering, moving cars from Ireland to the UK and vice versa. In the UK, the Kinahan family manages the cartel's operations, where they expand their network even further. Serving as a middleman within the cartel's hierarchy, they facilitate connections to other street gangs in areas such as Manchester, London, and Liverpool, enabling a smoother and less risky distribution. Additionally, the Kinahan branch have also been known to launder money, particularly through real estate and luxury property. In the Netherlands, Dutch gangs collaborate with the Kinahan cartel, as the Netherlands serves as a major trafficking hub and a critical entry point for cocaine into Europe. The country's ports and transport system provide a transit point into the European drug trade, allowing the cartel to move large quantities of drugs very efficiently. Furthermore, the cartel utilizes Spain, particularly Costa del Sol, as a key location for drug storage and local recruitment. It also doubles as a KOCG safe haven, where a number of high-profile cartel members reside, taking advantage of the lenient extradition laws and bureaucratic delays. Spain's strategic location and high demand for drugs make it an ideal operational base for the cartel to expand its European reach. Through this complex international network, the Kinahan cartel is able to smuggle, store, and distribute vast quantities of cocaine across Europe. Each region plays a unique role, highlighting the cartel's strategic planning and ability to extort global and local connections to sustain their illicit empire. Of course, within an operation of this scale, there is an intricate criminal structure which enables these activities to be fulfilled. This organisational chart provides a detailed look into the multi-dimensional structure of the Kinahan organised crime group, which is broken down into roles and associations. At the top, Christopher Kinahan Sr. leads the KOCG, with a network that spans financial operations, logistics, and direct criminal activities. His son, Daniel Kinahan, handles logistics and business aspects, bridging the group's entities like LS Active Car Sales and Dukashev General Trading in the UAE. The Bern Organised Crime Group, also co-founded by Christopher Sr., operates closely with the KOCG, highlighting a collaborative, multi-tiered structure that supports the market reach across Europe. Businesses like Nero Drinks Company and Hupio Sports serve as legitimate fronts. This suggests a strategic use of lawful entities to launder money and disguise the group's criminal activities. Their presence in the boxing industry through MTK Global Management as well aids in the securing of status, power, and trust amongst group members. The diagram breaks down the specific roles from high-ranking enforcers like John Morrissey and to foot soldiers and specialists such as Hitman Imri Akanas. These members' function, ranging from money laundering to hitman roles, illustrates a hierarchy, well-defined chain of command with various skill-based branches. The group follows an entrepreneurial model, generating profits through legitimate businesses' operations while also engaging in violent enforcement and trust-building mechanisms, primarily within the gang structures. Additionally, the group's market focus on high-quality product distribution across Europe and collaboration with other groups demonstrates their aim of dominating in the cocaine trade. The emphasis on market strategy, hierarchy, and network partnerships reflects the group's organised, corporate-like approach to criminal activities. In summary, this chart outlines an intricate and strategically layered organisation of the KOCG, where legitimate businesses, hierarchy, and alliances support their highly profitable multinational criminal enterprise. As mentioned previously, the group does not purely operate within the illicit side of the law. However, they have legal businesses interests which are intertwined into the fabric of the criminal operation. Let's have a look. Extra-legal governance can be defined as the exercise of power by illicit actors, i.e. the underworld or alternative governments, through legal and illegal methods, such as practices including violence, coercive and non-coercive means. In the case of Kinahan, the group has implemented ranging illegal modes of control. Such practices including the assassination of the associate and opponents, such as the murder of former associate Jerry Hutch, the intimidation of officers and journalists, including, for example, threat letters which were sent to the BBC, or even corruption of former IRA Garda officers. However, the group also control its public influence through legal mechanisms, allowing it to positively transform their public perception. Kinahan leaders present themselves as sport entrepreneurs and businessmen. This group have invested in local economies in Ireland and overseas, and some leaders, such as Daniel Kinahan, have also even assumed consultancy roles to diverse actors, such as the semi-private Bahrain holding company, KHK. A core component of the group's public image management was done through the boxing world. The company, MTK Global, and its association with the important world-class celebrities such as Tyson Fury and Chantel Cameron. As mentioned earlier, the Kinahan Group originated from Ireland in the late 80s. During its development, the group did not have capacities to protect its own territory, unlike quasi-governmental infrastructures did not have control over its territory of activity. While drugs were publicly frowned upon by the IRA, the paramilitary organisation extorted the Kinahan Group for letting them operate. Unlike corruption, the IRA did not have monopoly over the use of violence, given the historical period. In 2010, paramilitary group capabilities decreased, creating a vacuum for the Kinahan to operate more freely. However, by then the group had already adopted the transnational, decentralized approach, which did not require such territorial control. As highlighted in the transnational legal framework of the Kinahan criminal network, the group had used legal specificities of different countries, the UK, Ireland, Spain, and the UAE, for example, to set up front companies and accumulate assets. While these companies operate under the law, they also benefit the KOCG interest. Some provide direct services to the gang, such as access to luxury vehicles across the UK, serve for money laundering fronts, such as Nero Drinks, or help the group's image, such as MTK Global. By delving into the social, political, and economic environment of Ireland in the 1980s, it becomes almost unsurprising how and why the Kinahan cartel formed and evolved. The roots of KOCG can be simply divided into supply and demand. Towards the turn of the century, Europe had an ever-growing appetite for Class A drugs, specifically cocaine. The 1990s and early 2000s saw a cultural shift that embraced recreational drug use, particularly among younger generations. The rise of club culture and the rave scene, where drugs were often part of the experience, contributed to an increased cocaine use. Media portrayals and celebrity endorsements can influence public perception of drugs, hence why we could see an increase in the cocaine use. Glamorization of drugs in music, films, and television increased the desire to take such substances. The 1980s were marked by economic hardship in Ireland, including high unemployment rates and stagflation. As people faced financial difficulties, some turned to drugs as a means of escapism or coping. Cocaine, being a powerful stimulant, gained popularity. Furthermore, the political environment during the Troubles, the conflict in Northern Ireland, also had a vast impact. The social, political unrest and violence could contribute to a culture of escapism, where individuals sought drugs to mitigate stress and trauma associated with the ongoing conflict. However, it is not just Ireland who had a fertile ground for high demand of cocaine. Within the UK, now over 5% or 1 in 20 15 to 34-year-olds have taken cocaine in the past year, according to the Office of National Statistics. This high demand led to a high-risk yet high-return business opportunities for those willing to operate outside of the boundaries of the law. This was at a time where there was quite a power vacuum, organised crime groups in Europe due to law enforcement agencies dismantling established players in the field of organised crime. Furthermore, traditional crime syndicates suffered from infighting and were weakened by significant arrests and prosecutions, leading to a fragmentation which further destabilised the landscape. Ireland is geographically advantageous for the trafficking of drugs due to their proximity to production and distribution routes, with a weak border security and surveillance. Law enforcement inadequacies enable such activities. Furthermore, the two-tiered issue of corruption within law enforcement agencies can also help facilitate the drug trafficking operations, undermining the efforts to combat organised crime. This goes beyond law enforcement's turning a blind eye to criminal ongoings, but additionally, paramilitary organise with various government affiliations serve as a private military for the KOCG, creating their own law enforcement through the use of extreme violence. This was all done at a time where the ingrained culture of radically violent self-defence due to the ongoings in Northern Ireland and the IRA. Violence was instilled in their nature. It was how trust was enforced, how control was maintained and how territory was gained. This deadly combination led to the violent emergence of one of the most powerful criminal groups on the planet. Unsurprisingly, all of the aforementioned activities and ongoings of the cartel has resulted in some economically costly, socially violent, politically testing, and deadly consequences. These implications have an international outreach, but let's focus on the UK. Drug use costs the UK £20 billion a year through the criminal justice system, lost productivity, crime and victimisation, social services, healthcare and rehabilitation. Within that, there is a cost of £500 million that is already pressured NHS due to the ever-growing percentage of the population taking Class A drugs. However, the implications go far beyond the financial. The activities of the Kinahan super cartel have been associated with increased gang violence, particularly in Ireland and the UK, as rival gangs fight for control over lucrative drug markets. This can lead to a surge in shootings, public disturbances, and fear within communities, which affect not just gang members but also civilians. Innocent bystanders have quite literally been caught in the crossfire of their violent turf wars, leading to murders of civilians. Furthermore, this increased violence can desensitize communities and lead to a normalization of criminal activities as people adapt to living in high-risk environments. This has been a prominent issue in the youth community, as youth recruiting and gang violence can attract young individuals who perceive gangs as a source of power, identity, and economic opportunity. The presence of organised crime can exacerbate social problems, including poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity in the affected regions. Communities may become more vulnerable to crime and violence, perpetuating the cycle of disadvantage. All of these impacts are real-world implications which have been felt throughout the UK as a result of the activities of the KOCG. As mentioned previously, it is not just the UK which they affect. The global nature of the cartel's operations can affect not just other countries, but also strains in relations between countries. Cooperation in tackling organised crime requires diplomatic negotiations and can affect bilateral relations, particularly between nations such as the US, Ireland, and the UK. With all these negative implications and externalities in mind, there of course is a concerted effort from law enforcement agencies across the globe to combat this. With all of these negative implications and externalities in mind, there of course is a concerted effort from law enforcement agencies across the globe. The UK has a multi-layered countermeasures against the KOCG, organised into proxial, distal, and international collaboration approaches. Each strategy targets a different aspect of organised crime, aiming for both immediate impact and long-term resilience. In proximal countermeasures, the UK government implements financial distribution through unexplained wealth orders and asset freezes. By seizing illicit assets such as the £271.5 million denied and the £9.2 million in cash seizes between 2022 and 2023, these measures directly weaken organised crime funding channels, according to the Home Office in their 2018 research. However, their application is limited by high legal costs and complex processes. Another key proximal measure is the high-risk network distribution. Operations like EncroChat have been pivotal, leading to over 1,550 arrests and nearly 5,000 recorded disruptions between 2022 and 2023. By targeting communication channels and leadership structures, the strategy destabilizes the group's operation. However, the NCA 2024 notes that this requires continuous tech updates to keep pace with the evolving crime methods. Cyber surveillance adds a proactive layer by intercepting organised crime communications, contributing to an estimated 30% reduction in cyber-enabled crime, NCA 2023. Despite its effectiveness, the high costs and need for constant technological advancements present ongoing challenges. Moving to distal countermeasures, preventing community strategies aim to reduce organised crime recruitment by building community resilience. Initiatives like the Prevent strategy report around a 20% drop in youth involvement in crime within targeted communities, though these programs are challenging to measure in a short term and rely heavily on sustained funding. Home Office 2018. Public engagement and awareness initiatives such as Crime Stoppers empower communities by encouraging public reporting. This has led to a 25% increase in community tips, showing that the value of public involvement in crime prevention. However, Crime Stoppers 2023 highlight that maintaining public interest requires consistent outreach efforts. International collaboration is crucial in tackling transnational crime. Partnerships with Europol, Interpol, and other agencies have led to dismantling significant organised crime networks and making key arrests. Yet, differing legal frames and cultural practices can delay coordinated responses, underscoring the need for strong diplomatic ties, according to the Home Office 2018. In suggested future countermeasures, a digital intelligence hub is proposed to leverage AI and big data for real-time tracking and prediction of organised crime patterns. Inspired by the FBI's Index system, this hub would cross-reference data to improve proactive interventions, though it requires significant investment and a robust data ethical framework. FBI 2023. Lastly, community-based rehabilitation programs, such as Scotland's Street and Arrow, show promise in reducing reoffending rates amongst high-risk youth by providing structured mentorship and job opportunities. Expanding these programs could offer vulnerable individuals viable alternatives to crime. But long-term funding and community engagement are essential for this success. Scottish Government 2022. In summary, the countermeasure sections demonstrates a comprehensive approach that combines immediate disruptions, community-focused strategies, and international partnerships. These measures reflect a balanced response, addressing both the operational and systematic aspects of organised crime. If you have listened this far, I hope you now have a thorough understanding of the Kinahan organised crime group, what they do, how and why they do it, and what this means for you and me as residents of the United Kingdom.